Good evening, YouTube. Hardball Crazy come back to the video. Tonight I'm going to give you a little piece of Japanese baseball history. Little black guy in the game in Japan that I recently learned about over, say, the last few months, I guess. I don't know, maybe a little bit longer. But with this, when I learned about this uh, scandal, there's one player that's implicated in the scandal, and I wanted to get a card of him. And this player you might call the Japanese Shoeless Joe Jackson. I'm going to give you the Cliff Notes version of this. I'm going to have a link down below of another video, YouTube video done by someone else. This is where I learned pretty much everything I'm telling you on. It's about a 25-minute video or so, give or take a couple minutes, and it gives you a much more detailed uh, history of the scandal. And I'm just going to give you a quick Cliff Notes version of them. Uh, Mid 1960s, take you back in Japan. Baseball has really started to become a huge part of baseball, part of culture, and eventually become the number one sport in Japan. Also, the mid 1960s, the Yakuza, the Japanese mafia, was at its height, and the number of members, the influences, and the crimes they committed. And if you made the assumption that the two worlds, those two sectors, entities would end up colliding, you would be correct. And which will now become called was now known as the Black Mist Scandal. Uh, the Yakuza, members of the Yakuza, tried to get some major pro ball players to throw some games, and one such pitcher of the Nihitsu Lions by the name of Nagayasu did that. He tried to throw a couple games, and there's a one American player kind of leaked to the press that there's a pitcher who kind of is trying to throw games, and the press went the Japanese papers started investigating, and Nagayasu was immediately suspended, and upon further investigation, and he became a bit of a recluse as the investigation went forward. But he eventually found about 30 days later, so in a far different part of Japan, and he would eventually start telling all to the Japanese papers. One of the players that was named by Nagayasu was his teammate, a fellow pitcher by the name of Masaki Ikunaga. He was a young star in Japan at the time, but he was only his fifth year in the pros, in the NPB, the Japanese major leagues. He won Rookie of the Year, and every year he was in the top, pitchers in the league, and he was a young star. Everybody thought he was destined for the Hall of Fame, but with this Black Mist scandal, he was banned for life at age 23. Many of the players who were implicated, many like 8, 9 players or so at least, were banned for life in the Japanese league. And they're not all one team. They were on several different teams. Many players are suspended. Many others were given just stern warnings just to have affiliation and socializing with the Yakuza. In all, 8 to 12, I think, of the teams in the NPB had players implicated, named in this Black Mist scandal. This Black Mist scandal also did not just was part of baseball. It was a big piece of auto racing too. There's one racer who was named and was banned, was suspended, and he had to fight through the courts to eventually quit himself, but took like 5 years. But many racers were implicated in it, and many ball players were seen at racetracks making bet with the Yakuza, and therefore their warnings, suspensions, and bans were part of all of this enveloping um, scandal. This Black Mist scandal obviously took a hit to Japanese baseball popularity, but just like the Black Sox scandal, but unlike Shoeless Joe Jackson, Ikunaga, there's a happy ending with him. Many decades later, uh, Ikunaga, I don't know if I mention earlier that the Nagayasu and some other players were defended uh, Ikunaga for him because Ikunaga agreed to take he took the money but never threw any games, and he was still banned because he was part of the scandal. He took money. He was associated with the Yakuza, and many people, including the people within the scandal, thought he should still be part of NPB, still should be playing, and but nonetheless, he was still banned at age 23. And years later, decades later, the NPB made a new rule that if you after your suspension, your banishment, you after a certain amount of years that you can, if you show yourself that you're a changed man, you're a different person, you're rehabbed more or less, that you could be reinstated. And in 2005, Mr. Ikunaga was reinstated, and and he was part of baseball, professional baseball, until his recent passing this past September. He was part of Major League Baseball and was more celebrated. As for Ikunaga, this is as I can know, according to a trading card database, this is his only playing days card. This 1967 Kabaya Leaf. Um, he does have some recent cards that came out, BBM cards and such, that was released after his reinstatement, and so there's some cards, modern day cards of Mr. Ikunaga. But this is his only playing days card, 1967 Kabaya Leaf. I love this card. This is the only year this Kabaya Leaf was made. If you're familiar with any Japanese vintage, a lot of them are Menkos, bromides, and some few other stuff. But this is the first full color set by Kabaya Leaf that had a bio and complete stats. It's the first Japanese set that had some bio and complete stats in the back. Cool, very cool cards. These are distributed by via mail order to U.S. more than anything else, and it has rarity to it. And these are a little bit more expensive than the other card sets like the Menkos and such from that era. 6 of the 12 teams were part of this set. The card set's a little over 100 card set, and legends Sadaroho, Shigeo Nagashima, Asaya Haramoto, Katura Nomura are all part of this set. But this, like I said, this is the only Ikunaga card in the set. Ikunaga is the only playing days card of them. Because of the popularity of the set, these are a little more expensive than the Menkos, and the set is, should I just say, design like this 59 tops design, and the other half of the set sort of like a 63 tops ish, and so the very popular set. And I'm not sure if I overpaid for it or not, but I didn't want to pass up the opportunity to pick up a gorgeous example of this card and having him this be only playing days card of Mr. Ikunaga. I wanted it to be to my PC, my Japanese card PC, and I couldn't pass it up, so I bought it. A PSA 8 version of this 1967 card I think is a good buy, and have a PSA 8 card of any card from the 1960s is a nice part of your PC. Like I said before, I will put the link to the video down below of the Black Mist scandal, more detail oriented if you want to learn more about it. I recommend it if you're interested in it. gives you much more detailed background and people, players, everybody who was part of the scandal, including owners and business people and such. Obviously, there's no names of the accuser was named, but it's a cool video and it's an entertaining video, well made. And I'll put a link down below. Hope you enjoyed this video. I learned a little bit about the Black Mist scandal in Japanese baseball. And this video is a little too long as it is, so I'll leave it at that. And thank you for watching.